So here's the new bombshell news about Ghislaine Maxwell that just broke recently that I think might send Donald Trump into a minor tailspin, meaning Reid catch up on the walls, Reid might bomb another random country or some boats or something. Who knows? And the news isn't necessarily news, it's just newly reported, but that's enough to get a lot of people thinking about the Epstein files again, which is a topic that's Donald Trump's Achilles heel. It's something that we can always use against the right anytime. It's like a, get out of a argument card. Anyway, so here's the update. The update is the Daily Beast is reporting that on December 17th, Ghislaine Maxwell had drafted on her own from jail a pleading, what's called a habeas corpus pleading, essentially alleging that she wants her trial, looked at again, perhaps her sentence commuted because there was some irregularities in the way she was prosecuted, and there's brand new evidence. In order to have your case, your conviction looked at again, you need to present that there was some new evidence that didn't exist at the time, or there was something else that warrants, this like review and second look at your conviction. Now that was filed, so that's again, it's not new. In it, she alleges things that are also not new. Amongst the allegation is that there are four unindicted co-conspirators who walked away with sweetheart deals. And then she also alleged there are 29, that's a really specific number, men who negotiated with the FBI, with the United States government, to avoid being named as co-conspirators or having some sort of criminal charge levied against them because there was some sweetheart deal. So that's buried inside of her, I forget, let me see how many pages, a 50-page pleading petition for writ of habeas corpus. So buried inside of it, she mentions these four folks, and people are reporting as it's new, but I'm assuming that the four unindicted co-conspirators she's referring to are not necessarily new. They are women who are Jeffrey Epstein's schedulers who got plea deals in 2007 in agreement to not be charged. They gave up some evidence. And the 2019, the Daily Beast, which broke this story today or yesterday, had done Where Are They Now on these women, essentially just chronicling their lives. And essentially, according to that article, they were living blissfully. They were starting businesses. They had just moved into a really nice luxury apartment in New York that's owned by somebody who is previously alleged to have been a trafficker or abuser himself. Well, could be expected. And so that's not new information. And just so you know, the names of these people are Sarah Kellen, Leslie Groff, Adriana Ross, and Nadia Markinkova. And you should know that some of these women actually were trafficked themselves. It's sort of someone who's a victim of trafficking turns and becomes a trafficker herself. So that isn't necessarily news. And so I was a little bit skeptical. I know people were wondering, is this new? Is she lying? And this is why I don't think she is lying, especially as to the 29 men. At some point last year, and just a quick background for the timeline, in July last year, 2025, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanchett met with Ghislaine Maxwell because Donald Trump has actually campaigned on releasing the Epstein files. So his constituents and the people who voted for him were like, when are you going to release the Epstein files? So at some point, part of that, I guess, I don't know, he went down there. And what happened, we don't know any reports. We don't know what was said. There was no reporting on it. All we do know is that she moved from a maximum security prison to another prison that some people say is really, really cushy. And it's kind of like a country club for prison. For someone who's trafficked lots of children, inflicted lots of abuse and trauma on folks that are lasting. And people, Virginia Giuffre, like, ended her life because, her life was never ever the same after being trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine. It's ruined lots of lives. So why is she getting a sweetheart deal and why is she getting reduced? We don't know. But of course, Spidey senses went up. A lot of people were questioning that. And it was a bipartisan agreement in Congress in November when they passed the Epstein Transparency Act, which mandated the Department of Justice to release all of the Epstein files by December. That deadline came and went. They alleged there's millions, it's so much, and they're overwhelmed. And I'm JJ Legal. If you follow me, I track the lawsuits filed against the Trump administration and those the Trump administration filed against others. And one thing I tell you is that the Department of Justice, FBI, they're thinned out since Donald Trump came into office. Some people quit, they fired folks. It's not a good look. And then the folks who were left in Department of Justice and FBI, a lot of them were pushed onto immigration because that's all Donald Trump has. That's his only policy. It was recently reported that there is this child trafficking portion of the Department of Justice is just left amiss. So this is when you can do all your crimes because they're not doing white collar crime, not doing anything. They're just running around. Anyway, I digress. So they said it's just too much, and they mean you do it, but that doesn't explain why it was heavily redacted. So it looks like a cover up. It looks like a cover up. And then in September, before a Congress Oversight Committee, FBI Director Kash Patel said with a straight face to the Senate Judiciary Committee on September 16th, 2025, that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked minors to other powerful co-conspiracy. When it was asked, he said, "There's no credible information, none. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals."
You've seen most of the files. Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
In the files?
In the case file.
Okay.
I am not saying that others were not trafficked and others were not involved. What I am telling you is that based on the information we have, and we have continuously and publicly asked for the public to come forward with more information. If there is, we'll look at it.
And people were just like, what? No new co-conspirators. So technically, you can say the uniform or the universe of potential co-conspirators, they already have it. And so there's no new co-conspirators. I'm not quite sure. It does not look good because sometime, I think either earlier this year, January 2026, or late December 2025, I think, I just happened to go on Substack and bumped into a woman who I followed named Ellie Leonard, who has a Substack where she essentially taking all the Epstein files, all the Epstein emails, and she is going through line by line, chronicling it and make it easier for us lay people to review it. God bless her, because she's doing something great for the victims. And when I bumped into the Substack that she had written, she was expressing concern about not being able to identify in the volumes of data dump Ghislaine Maxwell's emails, and someone found it. So she's like, oh, someone found it. And she reported. So I went down that rabbit hole. Ghislaine Maxwell's email went down a rabbit hole. As I went down the rabbit hole, I uncovered myself, JJ Legal, during 1 hour of going through Ghislaine emails, 3 co-conspirators, myself, and some of the names, at least one of the names of co-conspirators is listed in Jeffrey Epstein's little black book. If you Google that, you'll find that. And this woman is in that book. And in email exchange between Ghislaine Maxwell and that woman, and Ghislaine Maxwell and another person, I'm not quite sure the name is, and Ghislaine Maxwell and a man in Ecuador, all 3 of them were arranging for young girls to be either, serviced Jeffrey Epstein, or in this case, it was Prince Andrew, saying, we're the girls, they need to come from good families, and he wants them young, he wants them flexible, gross, all these sort of things. So when I go back to look at who was already a co-conspirator who's named, none of those people that I identified in 1 hour of searching a fraction of Ghislaine Maxwell's emails, which is part of the 1% or 2% of files that have been dumped. So imagine what's in there. It's a treasure trove in there. So that conflicts. So when someone asked me on Threads, when I posted like, oh my God, Donald Trump's going to be throwing ketchup on the wall and playing arias outside loudly in the White House when he hears this news, the person was like, I think it's fake. There's more people. And I was like, yeah, well, I saw those 3 people. They were talking about finding girls. hello, FBI, how am I finding this stuff? And I did a couple of lives last week, and I mentioned this. So there are a lot of people out there that are taking the information and making it in ways that we can search it, where we can look at it. There's someone has a Jeffrey Epstein email that they made look like a Gmail account. It's really easy for you to click and see the emails. They're redacted, but they arrange it physically so it looks like a Gmail account, but it makes it easy for us to consume, easy for us to report on, easy for us to review and give you information like this. So we know about the 4 conspirators. What about the 29 men? And so the question now, is this new news? Because that other one's not new news. And we believe her? So this is new news because she names a specific number, which is unique from last time. We knew about the 4. Now, and the timing. In this article for the Daily Beast, they point out that Leon Black, the former CEO of Apollo, paid $62.5 million to United States Virgin Islands to settle claims that he had financial dealings with Epstein. He had no criminal charges, and there was just large text. So we know that could be one of the sweetheart deals. A settlement, no indictment. So what about the other 28? This person, Leon Black, also stated, or is known for, according to this article, having admitted during testimony at some point that he paid Jeffrey Epstein $170 million for tax and estate planning, something to which Jennifer Wexler and Angie Pump Sullivan mentioned in the show is bizarre, and it's a sign that really wasn't that.
You see that Leon Black, who is a Trump ally, former Apollo CEO, paid $62.5 million in U.S. Virgin Islands to settle claims tied to his financial dealings with Epstein. So here's the thing. There's no charges. Was this a quid pro quo with authorities? I don't know. And Leon Black, who is big buddies with Trump, also testified in 2018 before Congress that he vaguely remembers being in Russia and he could have been in a strip bar with Trump. So this goes back years and years and years ago.
That's bananas. Kylie, will you put that up? There was something underlined that I wanted to see. It said, gave evidence about being with Trump during a trip with Russia. This is what you just said, in the naughty 90s, where they attend a concert, a discotheque. And according to Black's sworn testimony, might have been in a strip club together. Black paid Epstein roughly $170 million nominally for tax and estate planning, but denied knowledge, anything about his industrial scale sex trafficking. That's crazy. So is this maybe, and I'm just pontificating here, guessing, is this maybe how he had so much money? Because nobody really knows where Jeffrey Epstein's wealth came from. Did he honeypot and compromise really wealthy men, and then they had to pay him off?
That's what I think. That's how I think it started. I think that Les Wexner was the first person that he made big.
Victoria's Secret guy.
Right. Victoria's Secret guy who has also been subpoenaed to testify before oversight. I'm sure he won't, but he has been subpoenaed. He's the one that started it. That's where the massive wealth accumulation started. But in terms of services, we have Palantir Peter Thiel saying, oh, well, he did tax stuff for me, to the tunes of hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, that just seems shady to me. And $170 million for estate planning. I'm not a billionaire, but I would think 100 or 1 million would be a lot for estate planning, but I don't know. I don't have that kind of money. It's not that complicated, but 1 million seems like it'd be really, really a lot for estate planning. I think it's all bullshit. I think that Howard Lutnick told the truth one time, and that's when he said Jeffrey Epstein bribed people because he got them in there in that smarmy townhouse. I mean, he's a cabinet secretary. He says this while Trump is under investigation.
And again, this gets back to why I was concerned and wondering if it was new news, because at some point, I think I was watching the Midas Touch Network, and one of the lawyers on there had this video saying new news, explosive new news. And he was talking about Jeffrey Epstein's biographer. and having discovered something that was discovered that he said there was a picture of Donald Trump that Jeffrey Epstein removed from a safe, showed it to him, put it back into the safe, and he said that Jeffrey Epstein keeps blackmail materials. And Jennifer and Angie mentioned the fact that Donald Trump's cabinet member, what's his face, Howard Lucknett, joked that Jeffrey Epstein bribes people. So you see where I'm going with this, like a full circle moment, that some person can get services and with a bribe, but we're not calling it a bribe. We're going to call it something like a donation to a ballroom. We're going to call it something like a settlement for something that if you went to court for, you would win. Like CBS, they would have won that case against Donald Trump. So settling is sus. Paying money to go, donating to buying his cryptocurrency. It's like it's bribery, it's open, it's corruption. It's a way to get money that's off the books but still on the books by saying it's this when it's really that. And so Jeffrey Epstein, in receiving $170 million for Leon Black, why? Is it because Jeffrey Epstein lured Leon Black because of his proclivities and interest in young girls and having film information that could be used against Mr. Black? And so you're going to pay me all this money for consulting services. So it just seems like, okay, that's where he learned it from. Like you want to get something from somebody, you can't get it from them, and you have something over them, whether they want regulatory relief, whether they want you to not take away their funds, whether you want them to just give you an easy time while you're president and not bust your balls, then you donate or you give me this expensive information. So yeah, that's what he learned it from. So we'll see. We don't know. I think this is the equivalent of Ghislaine Maxwell pulling his collar. Have you ever heard that term? That essentially is when, you yank up somebody's collar. It's a colloquial term. I think it's a slang. I don't know where it originates, but essentially like, hey, what's up? Saying, I know you, I have something on you, you owe me something. And, it's a nod and wink to someone. And so that could be her specifically saying, I have information. We do know that Donald Trump, according to Marjorie Taylor Greene, said to her, that her signing off on the discharge petition to release the Epstein files, I mentioned there's that act, that a lot of his friends are going to get hurt. So the 29 people that were paid off, they're probably big names. They could be some of the people that Donald Trump was worried would get hurt. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not quite sure, but they're connected. But you can see how it's her like saying, hey, and I've been asking for you to commute the sentence. There's 29 people. She knows where all the bodies are buried. She needs to be careful. And I posted this on Threads. A lot of folks were saying, hey, she has to be careful. She's not going to be here tomorrow. But if anything happens to her, and she even said, if anything happens to me, she's already said this, I'm fine here in prison. I don't like prison. I don't like jail, but I'm not the type of person who's going to take my life. And if I'm gone, it's not me. Essentially, she's already said that. So we already know that. And we know she knows the things. So it's going to be looking really sus if something happens to her outside of, we don't know. We'll see. So that is the news. That's the update. It's just getting closer and closer and closer. Like I said, I discovered all I discovered with just an hour of my time going down a rabbit hole and just clicking through some emails. So follow Ellie. She's a rising star. She's number 11. I'm so jealous. I've been at this for a long time. I have 4,000 subscribers, but I'm not in, after you get hundreds of subscribers, you get the little light green. I'm nowhere near that. And then you get thousands of subscribers. You get the orange. I'm always jealous of these people because she's great because she doesn't have any paid tier, but she does a lot of work. So she deserves it. So she essentially has benefactors that is supporting her work by paying her because none of her stuff is paywalled. It's all free, all free. She's really doing a service. And so in contribution for the service, and she works hard. She works hard. And so go follow Ellie Leonard. She has other things there. Yeah, so she deserves it. She's working hard. She's doing good work for the victims. So shout out to her. I'm just going to keep plugging and plugging away. My goal is just try to get into the 100 subscribers. I have about 50 right now, paid Substack, and that supports the work that I do here. I am just recently went full time, and so I am, making my way. I've done other things before. I've been a full-time content creator, but just for myself. And I've also managed other people's social media. I've been an attorney, a lawyer. So to varying levels of success. So I'm doing this because I like it. It's a labor of love. I enjoy sharing with you information. So I'm doing okay. Just, could do better. So that's my goal, is to get on there. But anyway, I respect the people who are top the list. I can't even hate on them because she works hard. And the people who are on the top list, they work hard. They show up all the time. They're constantly doing videos. They're getting people. They're doing collabs. And so they work hard. So I can't even knock their hustle. I just got to keep hustling. So one of these days, I'll be a top 100. I'll get my little light. I get a light orange check if I get like at least 100 subscribers. So if you want to support that effort and help me. It's only $5 a month. It supports my work here. You can go check out my Substack. It's JJ Legal, and I have 2 Substack blogs. One of them is called Legality, but I've just recently made Legality is going to be just paid only for my paid subscribers. And then I have a new one I just created called, it's brand new. So what did I call it? I'm calling it Receipts and Rulings. So that's my daily updates on what's new. And so you're going to just get my notes and daily updates. That's free. I'm not even charging. I don't even have a paywall for that one. But for my deeper analysis, where I go in depth, that's going to be in my paid Substack. But you can also donate actually for the Receipts and Rulings if you want to. But my paid Substack is going to be Legality. I'm switching that. I'm going to do some analysis. I have some ideas. So yeah, and I'm always predicting stuff. So I like to share my predictions with my audience first before. Like, for example, I did that live and I talked about discovering what I discovered in that live. And but I was meaning to do a video on it or article on it. I just got busy because there's so much information. And then this comes out because I'm like, wow, had I done it, I could have added that to my column because I'm always predicting stuff correctly a lot. So and it goes directly to what came out today. So I'll keep you updated. This video is 20 minutes long. I didn't want it to be this long. I'm going to do light editing on this because I'm editing another video. I just want to chime in here because people were asking me about it. So I said, let me pop in here and give a little more details. Jay, each one teach one. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I'm almost at 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I passed 50,000 on Instagram. So this is more than I can wait for, because before I did this content, I was like plugging along and just barely had subscribers. So, but this is interesting. It's polarizing content, and we have a known opponent and victim, and I'm giving divisive sort of perspectives, and that's the formula for growth on social media. Do something polarizing. Anyway, JJ, you can buy my Big Fan of Voting Rights sweatshirt to support me also.